This is Jen again. We are in Module 2 and now Lesson 4. What are your strengths and weaknesses? And the objective here is so that you can see your opportunities for growth and to see your fabulousness. And I'm going to share the 100 to 10 rule, and challenge kind of comes along with this. And then what this is most definitely not. This is not an opportunity to be hard on yourself or to hide in excessive internal work. We've all done it, especially if you are in the healing coach industry. I see a lot of women in general that we tend to hide. I think sometimes we don't know when to be in that ebb and flow of retreating and doing work and then moving forward. Sometimes we stay too much in the excessive healing area. And actually healing and growth is part, it's the ebb and flow. So we're going to jump in to the lesson. What are your strengths and weaknesses? I want you to create a list and do a brain dump. And on the worksheet, I've put a list for 15 spots for your strengths at the beginning. And then I've put down at the bottom of the worksheet is the area to do your weaknesses. And you'll notice the ratio far more looking at what your strengths are versus your weaknesses. And it's going to be a combination of both business, personal, everything. It's because life is interwoven. You can't separate it. It won't be effective for you. And you will be amazed at some of the areas that overlap anyway. And you'll see that from my own that I'm going to share with you. So that's the simple exercise now. The challenge, though, is I want you to keep an ongoing list of your strengths. When something pops up, challenge that ego, because our ego is so quick to look at the negative so much, and it's your choice to love yourself and be in your power and add to this list. Get to 100 on this list. And yes, from the prior worksheet, you can absolutely start by putting the 15 on here. And I want you to hang this visibly or put it in your process that you look at every day, whichever you need. If you're finding your ego is overruling too often, then I want you to pull it out and I want you to put it in your process, which we're going to be covering more about process later on. But for now, I want you to be adding to this. I want you to get it to a 100. It may take you a week. It may take you months. That will also show you, if it takes longer, it's going to show you how much your ego is controlling you, and you're supposed to control it. You can't make it go away because we need it. So just know that you can show it who's boss and add stuff to your list all the time. One of the things on my list, my mom has moved back to the area after 26 years of not being around. And when she moved back a couple months, she ended up having a bat flying around in the house. And my stepdad has passed away, so it's just her and her dog. And she's texting in the group chat to my brother and my sister and I. And she wants this bat gone, and she was not going to go to bed. And of course, it's like 10 o'clock at night. Thank goodness she only lives 20 minutes from me, if even that. And so I jump in the car, and I'm like, okay, I have to get a bat. And so I have added to my list of strengths, I'm a bat catcher. So again, because life is interwoven, you're going to be putting both business and personal stuff on here. And don't be afraid to put something on that you think is silly, even as being a bat catcher. Because the point is, it's to see everything you're awesome at. Okay, so my examples, and then you're going to pull from that list as you start to work on your success plan. And you'll see my strengths are seeing your soul truths. Really drives me nuts when I see women who are blindsided by their egos so much that they can't see their soul truth. And then breaking down processes into bite-sized steps and manageable implementation steps. Owning my power. I'm fabulous at it. I don't need anybody telling me what to do, ever. I'm great at technology, and I can usually find my own way through it for the most part. And then my last one, and you'll see it's actually quite wordy, but it's just what came out, and it's teaching you to zap the power out of your overruling ego so you stand in your soul truths and personal power to experience the life and business on your soul terms. So that's my strengths, and it's there to remind me. It's that visual reminder. It's that biggest element I think that's missing from the online coaching world, especially when it comes into implementing our foundation for our business, is that we're not putting in a process for the visual reminder of stuff. We're just expected to recall it. So, and we're going to talk more about that in an in-depth module later on. So then my weaknesses, converting sales. It is my number one weak spot in business that I am set my year for 2018 on. It felt too limiting to me to be a quarterly goal or a half a year goal. I knew that needed to be my whole 2018 year. Perfectionism. This is a daily goal for me because I truly can get caught up in the perfectionism. I'm sure you have not noticed the changes, the slight changes I have even made getting the slides to be what I want them to be throughout the whole thing. Module 1, lesson 2 is a little slightly different than the others. And I do it to screw my ego over. And I really don't like that phrase, but I'm doing it to show my ego who's boss, plain and simple. It's not in control. I can move on, and it's not big changes and stuff like that. It's just little things, and I'm the only one who usually notices them, and as will it be for you as well. My other area of my biggest growth area, because I do own my power so well, though, I am in my independence 2.0 level that I'm at, I am stepping in and owning my value and worth more and more. My other weakness is controlling outcomes. That reach, covering control freak. I've come a long way in this area, though. And then, so it really probably doesn't need to be on here anymore because I have done so much work on this, but when it comes to sales and marketing and some goal stuff, I kind of do. In my personal life, I really have overcome the controlling of the outcomes quite a bit. But in business now is where my growth needs to be, which is part of the reason I did put it on this list. And then one of the things that's very indicative of me and is indicative of the, I'm going to draw a codependency. I was drawing a blank. Codependency in our culture. And I tend to, if I had to pinpoint my codependency traits, it is taking the responsibility of others on too much onto my shoulders. And that's exactly where what my codependency trait is I'll take on other people's responsibility as if it's my job to take care of it. So now what I then did over here, you'll see in this column, is I then chose, it's my biz growth to focus on. And in your success plan, you'll be doing the same thing and designating how you're working on it. And you notice, controlling outcomes. I didn't even put anything there because to me, and I probably could have put daily, but it's really something I'm going to have to focus on, during sales activities and just different things like that. So it's for your reminder to yourself. And it's not anything to be hard on yourself about, but just to help you see where the growth needs to come from, because it also will aid you in, in connecting the dots. You can use this in your goals area. You can use it in your growth area of your business as well. you know, and one area will be, when you're creating a team, will most likely be people you're going to fill in and use that to offset your weaknesses. I'm really not into, I like the bigger picture and creating the bigger picture things, and then the little things that need to be done to support it. I know they need to be done, but I really like handing that stuff off. And as I grow away from a solopreneur, at some point, I will, you know, be gladly handing off like scheduling social media stuff, and maybe once I get a true design I like, but I do like doing some design work. So I'm not, you know, designing is definitely not one area I will hand off, because I love doing the design and I work very creatively anyway. But the scheduling of, you know, the social media stuff in that area will definitely be one of the areas when I bump up from a solopreneur into that. And then it'll also help you, show you though what investments you need to make in your business for growth to occur. By, let's say you need help on a marketing campaign or a sales campaign, whichever you want to call it. You'll know which areas you need help on to help you get there, versus focusing on a design class when you don't. And that's a horrible example, but I hope that paints the picture for you of what kind of a coach you know, or program you need. That's the purpose of knowing your strengths and your weaknesses, is to do for you. Okay, now as usual, we're going to talk about some common power leaks, and this is very much the place where a lot of people will start judging yourself for your weaknesses. And you might even get to the point where you start to belittle yourself and be hard on yourself. And it is definitely not the time to do that. You need to be in your power and love yourself enough that you can see your weaknesses and be in observance of them without that happening. Okay? And then you don't need to go into obsessiveness on fixing them, because we all have areas of growth. We're not all meant to be spectacular at everything. We all have our zones of genius. You know, one of my weaknesses, spelling / grammar. It's definitely one of my weaker areas, and probably should be on my business list, because it does affect a lot of the touch points in my business. So, and then spending your wrong time focusing on things that don't pertain to your goals or the level you're at in your business too. Those are most of the common power leaks I see. And then, you know, and I kind of already touched on this when I talked about, you know, the whole judgment issue that I see happen a lot, and it's very common with women. You know, look at your spouse. Do you think your spouse does that internal judging of his self? Take a look at it and see. I can tell you mine doesn't. And he's taught me well on how to step out of that even more. And I did it a whole heck of a lot anyway. And I think that's, you know, part of the rock your independence I've always had. I watched girls in high school do it. It drove me nuts. But there's, I think, certain areas that we have to grow on it, especially when we're all at the one level and where our ego, oh, but you've got to be at level 10 to compete with somebody, and you don't. So don't go into the judging factor. Just don't. It's not going to serve you. Be in charge of your ego. Show it's who's boss. Stop letting it lie to you. And again, just knowing your weaknesses, judgment-free, that's observation, and that's all it's meant to be for yourself. It's not meant to go into the whole ego state of judging. And of course, breathe. Breathe, breathe, breathe. Again, no judgment. Don't let your ego do it. If it does it, hear it out, be done, and take back your power. Awesome! Celebrate, celebrate, celebrate. Module 2 is complete. Woo woo! And we're going to dive into Module 3 next, and that's going to be your business soul. And this is a huge module. So, again, breathe, celebrate. You've gotten through the whole Module 2, the soul of you, that, you know, is one of the 3 parts that completes your business soul. but there's pieces that come from your business soul, and then module 4 will be touching later on your whole client soul, true client soul. But the business soul is going to be huge, but it's where you're going to start to feel some more of the pieces of the puzzle coming together. I can't wait. So, excuse me. Celebrate, breathe. Celebrate, breathe. No judgment. All right. I can't wait to see you in module 3, lesson 1.